This program is sponsored by Zad Group.
Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this new episode of Ask Huda, broadcasting to you live from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Our first question that came through the email, it is from Salma, and she says, is it permissible for a Salafi woman to dance in a walima if there is only duf and no man can see her? Does she have to be reserved and not move too much while dancing? The issue of dancing for women, of course, with the Islamic boundaries. So it's totally women. There's no filming or photographing. There's also no musical instruments that they dance to, but it's only dancing to the duf, not even the drums, only the duf, which is the only permissible musical instrument in Islam. This issue of dancing is an issue of dispute among scholars. Some say that this is not permissible, especially if it is done by women wearing revealing clothes, either too tight or see-through, or clothes that expose parts of the body, such as the thighs and the cleavage, etc. And if this was avoided, so if women are dancing with proper clothes, with the Islamic boundaries, scholars say that if the dancing is acceptable, it is something that normal tastes do not detest, in this case it's permissible. And what do we mean by that? There are types of dancing that are specially designed to provoke desires and lust, even among women themselves. So the type of movement of the body that it is seductive and that may lure people with weak souls and hearts. And shaitan is always there waiting for the right moment to strike. So if the dancing is as such, like the belly dancing and the type that they shake special body parts, and this is not a healthy thing to do, this is not permissible. But if it's the normal dancing and moving around and spreading happiness and joy without any provocation of the desires or luring people to temptation or such, in this case, this is inshallah permissible. We have George from India.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for your good program. Thank you for getting a clear position about all of the issues.
Thank you.
I see lots of channel defense of that evil group, it means ISIL. And cause to some people want to join to ISIS. I see we have to speak about ISIS in all of program. We have to speak about this important issue. Thank you for your good program. I have one opinion about that. I see Saudi Arabia defense in this group. You know why? Because Saudi Arabia is the biggest.
George, with all due George, if you please, this is a Q&A session. So if you have a question, please go ahead to your question without putting your own opinions. And I appreciate that. Well, George seems to have gone. Zulaykha says, is it true that when Musa alayhi salam asked to see Allah, Allah told him to look at the mountain, and he placed the tip of his fingers and the mountain crumbled? I don't know if this is true, as Allah is high above all His creation. The answer is no, this is not true and it's not authentic. It was narrated that some of the companions, and this is where people may get lost in translation. When Ibn Abbas, for example, was explaining the ayah, and he said that Allah Azza wa Jal unveiled Himself to the mount, and the mount crumbled and it was turned into dust. And he did this. So with his thumb, he took a very tiny bit of the joint of his pinky finger, I think they call it, meaning that Allah Azza wa Jal unveiled Himself this little much to the mount, which made the mountain crumbled and turned into dust. Not that Allah Azza wa Jal has placed His own finger, subhanahu wa ta'ala, though we acknowledge and we believe as Muslims that Allah has two hands, that Allah has fingers, but all of Allah's attributes and beautiful features are unlike anything that we can imagine. So the only thing that is shared is the name, but the actual similitude of it, this is something that Allah Azza wa Jal knows, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. We have Aruj from the Emirates.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salamullah. Is it Aruj?
Yes, that's me. I have two questions.
Okay.
My first question is the ruling on females praying behind the imam. I need to know that because in some mosques the room is totally closed. Is it mandatory for us to see the imam before, saying prayers behind him? Okay. And the other thing is that, sometimes they have put up TVs in the female prayer rooms where you can see the live broadcast taking place in the mosque, and we are praying behind the imam. My second question is that sometimes on TV channels we see live broadcasting of a prayer taking place in Masjid-e-Haram. Is it okay if I'm staying at home and, praying behind the imam with the TV on? Is that okay?
Okay.
That's it. Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome. We have Sama from Saudi.
Assalamu alaikum,
Salam
Sheikh Luqman. At the outset, I would like to thank you for the immense knowledge that you spread on this program. I make it a point to reach home right on the dot to watch you on and listen to you on the TV.
Jazakumullah.
So, Jazakallah khair. Inshallah, Allah will bless all the efforts of the service you are doing to the humanity, Muslim community. Sheikh, my one question is, what is Hukuk al-Insan? There is Hukuk Allah and there is Hukuk Insan. What is this Hukuk al-Insan?
Okay, I will answer your question, inshallah.
Thank you, Sheikh. Thank you very much.
You're quite
Jazakallah
welcome.
khair.
Jazakum. Brother George, or Mr. George, I don't know if he's a Muslim or not, from India, he called about ISIL and he said that we should warn people about the dangers of joining them and how deviant they are. Alhamdulillah, we have done this so many times, either on this program or on Facebook and Twitter, and the Muslims are much knowledgeable and much aware nowadays than they were in the past. Now people understand, they can see what relates to Islam. Even the non-Muslims are defending truly Islam. The non-Muslims are defending in Islam, and they're saying that what's happening there, these barbaric acts, these terrorist attacks, killing innocent people indiscriminately, these are not related to Islam. Alhamdulillah, they are doing this because it is the religion of Allah and it will defend itself. We have Yusuf from Kenya.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Salamullah.
My former wife distracted and neglected my children, and I, for over 2 years, efforts to reconcile and bring her back failed because of politics and other issues. I then decided to divorce her with one talaq and married another. After the grace period of elapsed, which is 3 months, she filed a suit, an application against me in Qadi's court, 1,200 kilometers away from our matrimonial home, citing to be paid house rent, maintenance, and 3 months at that period while away. The Qadi, through her lawyer, ruled that I must pay the stated amount, which I cannot afford since I'm paying for 2 children in the university and 2 other minors which I'm keeping, i.e. catering for the education and maintenance, and also I'm having a new family. I protested against the ruling because she was away during those periods. Is she entitled for the 3 months that and maintenance as far as the Islamic Sharia is concerned?
Okay, Yusuf, can I ask you a question, please?
Yes.
She ran away from the house 3 years ago?
Pardon?
You said that she left the home 3 years ago?
2 years ago.
Okay, and she's asking for alimony for how many months?
She is asking for the 3 months, in that period that she was away, and our maintenance for those 2 years she was away from our matrimonial home.
Okay.
And the Qadi ruled that I must pay that through her lawyer. So I protested against the Qadi's ruling, and my lawyer, we investigated. So still that the case is still on.
Okay, I will answer your question, inshallah.
Thank you, brother.
You're quite welcome. Ashraf from Egypt.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salam to Allah.
Sheikh, I have a question about pyramidal marketing or pyramidal sale, multi-stage sale or multi-stage marketing in Islam. It is lawful or unlawful?
Okay, I will answer your question, inshallah.
Thank you, Sheikh.
You're quite welcome, Akhi. طيب, Aruj from the Emirates, she's saying, what's the ruling on praying of women in a masjid in a closed room where they cannot see the congregation, the men or the imam, but they can relate to that either by his microphone and the speakers in that room, in the prayer hall of the women, or by TV screens in a closed circuit TV. And the answer is, as long as they are in the same masjid and they can follow this through listening or seeing it, this is totally permissible, though closing it in this fashion totally, not by putting a partition, but totally closing it, this is not the right thing to do. And unfortunately, wrong things may happen. You know, someone would get in and do things, and men are not aware of what's happening in the ladies section, and someone would rob them or do something that is not correct. She's saying, what's the ruling on praying in home? When I see the Imam of Al-Haram praying in the masjid live from Mecca, so can I pray behind him while I'm in home? The answer is no. It is called congregational prayer. So you have to be within the congregation. Not only in your home, but you have to be in the masjid as well, so that you can follow the Imam. Asma, or Sama from Saudi Arabia, she says, what is حقوق الإنسان? حقوق الإنسان in Arabic translates to human rights. And Islam is the best human rights advocate. However, it is not what the people nowadays consider to be human rights. So it is totally different, because we abide by the human rights put to us by the creator of the humans. No one knows the humans more than Allah Azza wa Jal. So the system is from Allah. So when Allah tells us that if you die leaving boys and girls as your offspring, and the boys get double the girls, in accordance to Islam, this is the perfect law. In accordance to all other countries and people of intellect or other religions say, no, this is not fair. A woman should be equal to a man, or a female should be equal to a male. And this is not right. Well, this is Islamic law. So this is the best human rights. When it comes to personal freedom, they say human rights. You could be gay, you could be an animal, you could be whatever. And this is part of your own rights. And this is not right. They say you can slander and talk about anyone you don't like and say bad things about them. In Islam, it protects the reputation of an individual. So if you slander a woman, you'll be flogged 80 lashes, unless you bring 4 witnesses to testify that she committed fornication or adultery. So human rights is in Islam. It tells you to be fair, it tells you to be just, it tells you to be kind, it tells you to do the things that the Quran and the Sunnah tell you to do, and you will find that if implemented, if done and followed as Allah Azza wa Jal commanded and the Prophet ﷺ instructed, then the people, the humans, the whole of humanity would live a perfect life. We have Asif from the Emirates.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Samtullah.
How are you?
I'm fine, Jazakallah khair.
Yeah. Sheikh, I have a question. My grandfather passed away 27 years back.
Okay.
And he is having 7 children, 5 daughters, 2 sons. When he was alive, he gave 1 flat on 1 son's name. He made all the paper on his name. He had another property, another flat. He made all the paper on second son. And all the 5 daughters were married when he was alive. And he had some other property which he said, this is for my son and this is for my son. Now, the daughters, now they are asking that, what about my share? So what's the ruling on it? Can you please explain? And the property that was bought 27 years back, now the value has doubled.
Okay.
So even the son would, I don't know, can you please elaborate about this? Can you please throw some light on this?
I will.
Thank you, Sheikh.
You're welcome. Yusuf from Kenya, he says that there is a lawsuit against him and his wife. His wife ran away from the house 3 years ago, and now after he divorced her, after trying to reconcile without any hope, he divorced her once, and after the idda period, or they call it the grace period, was over, she filed a lawsuit against him, asking for maintenance for 2 months or so, and for the kids' maintenance as well, etc. And he says that, I'm unable to do this. First of all, this is something that is related to the Islamic court. So if it was the Muslim judge who ruled this, this is something that a mufti cannot give the answer for, because this is the rule of the Islamic Sharia. Now the judge might be right, and might be wrong, but this is within his jurisdiction, his responsibilities, and he's the one who is entitled to give such verdicts. But generally speaking, if she's the one who ran away against your will, and you were trying to prevent her and to keep her in the house, matrimonial house, and she refused, there is no maintenance for her, none whatsoever. Because she is the one who ran away willingly, and she refused to come back to the home. Now, in regards to the children's maintenance, this is a must. You have to provide for any of the children living with her, whether they went against your will or not. This is their God-given right. You must give them this money. But as stated before, this is generally speaking. It depends upon the Muslim judge who looks at this case, and he knows the ins and outs of it that I may not know. Your ex-wife might have given proof of other evidences that may change the verdict, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Muhammad from Gambia.
Okay. I say if somebody pass away and you owe him money, you have only 1 wife and 1 daughter and 1 father, how to give them back their money?
I will answer your question, inshallah. Ashraf from Egypt, he says, what's the pyramid investment? Pyramid investment is something that the base inject a lot of money. Those above them get some percentage because they are the one who introduced them to the scheme. And those above them get percentages, and so on, so on, so on, until you reach the top of the pyramid where they get the most of the bonuses. And this is totally prohibited. The type of investment is, they tell you that we have a pen. For example, this pen in my pocket, if I can get it out, this is a pen. So they tell you that, wow, we have like 500 pens like this worldwide. And because it's a collector's items, we are selling it to you for €1,000 only. However, once you buy one, in this case, you qualify to be one of our salesmen. So whoever you sell this pen to, we will give you 15% of that sale. And whoever he recruits to be salesman with him, we will give you 10% of those whom he had recruited, and so on. So by doing this, you will gain a lot of money, and you sit back and relax, and everybody is bringing customers, and this is totally prohibited. First of all, this is not €1,000 worth. If you go and check it, you will find that it is probably €150. So they're making $850 out of you as a sucker. And they are telling you to bring others so that they can give you bonuses and percentages, and all of this is haram. The item at hand was not purchased for its own sake. It was purchased so that you can be involved with this scheme, pyramid scheme, and this is totally haram, and Allah knows best. Asif from the Emirates, he says that a man died, that is his grandfather, 27 years ago, leaving 5 daughters and 2 sons, but he had made a lot of wrong acts before he died. So he gave some of his sons, they had 2 sons, one of them he gave them property, the other he sold property, he transferred the name of some of the properties to his 2 sons, leaving behind the 5 daughters. And now they're saying, is this halal? The answer is no. However, 27 years later, it's difficult to investigate. However, the 2 sons are questioned, and they're responsible on the Day of Judgment about their father's actions. Their father is going to suffer if he had done this act of transgression. He was unfair to his daughters. Because Allah says in the Quran, يُوصِيكُمُ اللَّهُ فِي أَوْلَادِكُمْ. Allah Azza wa Jal is advising you, He's telling you how to divide the inheritance. To do this before you die and deprive the females just because they're married and give the males because they carry your name, this is totally prohibited. Allah wants you to be fair and just, and hence, they are responsible to clear out their father's reputation by saying either they actually bought the property with a fair amount of money and they gave the money to their father. So buying and selling between the father and his offspring is totally halal. There's nothing we can say that this is unfair, this is unjust. This is totally permissible. However, if it was not sold actually, but it was done on paper, then this is haram. And they have to return the property so that it can be divided on the actual inheritance laws of the Quran. And Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. We have Abu Abdul Karim.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salamullah wa barakatuh.
How are you, Sheikh?
Hayyak Allah.
Sheikh, I have 2 questions.
Yes.
The first question is is it permissible to a man to do his hair transplant for the hair? The second question is, if my mother is she is above 60 years old, and she wants to travel to another country without a mahram, is it allowed or no? There is someone to pick her over there, but no mahram as of now available over there.
Understood.
And the last one, which I want to add on this one as well. So what is the, if I have a son or something, so what is age would be to be a mahram, eligible to be a mahram?
Okay, I'll answer your question.
Okay, thank you. Jazakallah khair.
Wa jazak, hayyak Allah. Muhammad from Gambia says that a man died leaving a wife, a daughter, and a father. How is this going to be distributed? The wife, his widow, would get 1/8 of the inheritance because he has a daughter. The daughter would get 1/2 of what he had left, and the father gets the rest, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Abu Abdul Karim says, what's your ruling on hair transplant? This is permissible, inshaAllah, because this is your own hair that is being transplanted, and there is nothing wrong in that, inshaAllah. His mother is 60 years of age. Can she travel without a mahram? The answer is no. This is the fatwa of the Prophet ﷺ, who said that this is not permissible. And he's asking, when is a child, when is his son qualified to be a mahram? The answer is if he reaches the age of puberty and he was sane. So if he's 15 years of age, he can be a mahram to his grandmother, to mother, or his sister-in-law knows best. Faris says that, for example, if a husband lets his wife wear tight clothes, does he take the same sin as the wife, that is a major sin, or a higher level of sin? And if a man allows his wife to interact with men with good intention, as in 99% common, does he take the same sin, minor sin, or higher level of sin, or no sin at all? Definitely the man is held accountable at the day of judgment for his wife's mistakes and errors if he does not stop her. Allah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum. O you who believe, prevent yourself, save yourself, secure yourself, and those you're responsible for, your families, from hellfire. So it is definitely a sin upon the man, but it is not equivalent to the sin of the woman, because the woman is the actual doer of that sin. His part is sinful because he did not stop her from doing that, but she is the one who chose, and she's the one who did, so her sin is more. Muhammad says, who are Haddadis? What is their belief? And is Al-Ulum website for them? I have no idea what is Al-Ulum website. The Haddadis, I have no knowledge of it, and I don't know if they're a sect or not, but I think that it's something to do with in-house feud in one of the groups of the Muslims. But you should not pay any attention to this, as it has no value to you. It will not get you closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. And those engaged in such feud, they lose a lot of iman, a lot of barakah, and a lot of the life of their hearts. Because each one accuses the other of hypocrisy, of being an enemy of Islam, and then at the end of the day they call themselves Salafi, and Allah knows best. Ashraf says, are we allowed to open a saving account with an Islamic bank such as Islamic Bank of Britain? I have contacted them and they assured me that they will invest your money in a halal business and the profit is not fixed. Every month the profit will be different. Ashraf, if you call anyone, any bank that deals with riba, or a bank that does not deal with riba, they will definitely assure you that their dealings is halal, blah, blah, blah. So don't believe what they say until you investigate, especially when it comes to the buck, especially when it comes to money. People are willing to sell their akhirah, to sell their religion for an extra amount of cash. And they are pursuing and following their targets. They have to achieve their target before the end of the year so that they can qualify for the bonus, whether it's 1 or 2 or 3 or 6 monthly salaries. So definitely you have to investigate. Now, just because it's called Islamic Bank of Britain does not mean it's Islamic. The bank depends entirely on the savings, on the money you deposit. So they want to get your money. But the issue is, how do they treat this money? And what do they do with it? If they lend others with interest, if they deal with other banks of giving them time deposits for a month or so for a rate of 0.5%, this is totally prohibited. But if they do invest in halal transactions, in Islamic windows as they call it, and they buy and sell goods, and they do Islamic stuff with a Sharia compliant board. So there are scholars who are monitoring, not only giving them fatwas halal and haram, no, they're monitoring the transactions of the bank. In this case, it is permissible, inshaAllah. Nilo says, when you read the funeral prayer after the third takbir for dua, should you raise your hands as in dua, or keep hands on chest or inside? Which is right? We know that the funeral prayer is composed of 4 takbir. Allahu Akbar, you recite the Fatiha. Allahu Akbar, and you offer salutation to the Prophet ﷺ. Allahu Akbar, and you start to make dua. Allahumma ghafir li hayyina wa mayyitina, shahidina wa ghaibina, and you make dua for the deceased. Now he's asking, or Nilo is asking, should we do this or keep it folded? The answer is keep it folded on your chest and do not raise it as you do in dua al-qunut. We have Aisha from Gambia.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salamatullah.
We have a very controversial issue here in the Gambia about female genital cutting, or some will say it's female genital mutilation. Now that those viewers in the Gambia are many, we want to know, is this obligatory in Islam or is it just optional? And if so, if you can help us, if there is time, how does it came into Islam? Because we
Wallahi, Aisha, I'm afraid I did not get your question. I know that there is something, and it's a big issue in Gambia, and whether it's against Islam or not, but I could not note down what that issue is. So if you are kind enough to call again and tell me about it. Muhammad says, will I lose reward from Allah if I tell a wife about sadaqah that I gave in the past, or will I give in the future? Also, how about telling it to the mother, father, and siblings? In the Quran, in Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, Allah tells us, Azza wa Jal, that if you show off and show people your charity, this is okay. And if you conceal it, this is better. So if a person is doing this, showing it to others without the intention of showing off, his action was sincere and is still sincere for the sake of Allah, but there might be a reason that justifies this is totally permissible. So if I tell my wife and she says, where is the money that I gave you yesterday? It's all gone. And I say to her, well, I gave it to sadaqah. Or I saw a poor person, I gave it to him. This is totally permissible and there's nothing wrong in that, insha'Allah. And the same goes for your father, for your siblings. But if you're bragging about it and you're showing off, this is not permissible. Aisha from the Emirates.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamualaikum.
I just wanted to ask a quick question. If my father passed away and she had given some shares of the company to my sister, like 20%, asked her to
why did he give her that? Aisha?
Or we have to do it again?
Your voice was gone for about 10 seconds. Why did your father give 20%? Well, Aisha is gone. We have Ahmed from the Emirates.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamualaikum.
Sheikh, I have a question for a friend of mine. Alhamdulillah, he has been doing well in his work, and he moved into a new house and invited his parents to visit him. And after that, after his parents left and after a few days, his whole family is getting sick. He's getting into accidents and things are happening like that. So is it a cause of the evil eye, and what's the solution for this?
Okay. Any more questions?
No, that's it. Jazakallah khair.
وجزاك أخي. طيب, Aisha had a question about her father who gave 20% from the company shares to her sister, but I could not know why. So if he just had given her these 20% of the shares just because she's poor, her husband is not doing well, this is totally prohibited. He has to be fair with all of his siblings and give them equal shares. But if she bought these 20 shares, or she is the soul and mind behind the company, she's running it and she's contributing, and this was in compensation for her work in that company, this is permissible and Allah knows best. Ahmed says, a friend of his moved to a new house and mashallah he was doing well, and all of a sudden he started facing a lot of accidents. The car is smashed, his son fell and broke his leg, there are problems between him and his wife, they don't feel at ease in this new house. So is this an evil eye? Is this possible? But it is also possible that Allah is examining your dependence and reliance on Him. So accidents do happen. The norm is that Allah trials us. Allah tries us. And Allah Azza wa Jal tests us with calamities, tribulations, etc. This is the norm. However, Allah's mercy and kindness upon us made us think that this is life. We have to have 5 meals on the table every day. We have to have a roof. We have to have air conditioning that makes the weather cool when it's summer, and it makes it a bit warm when it's winter. We have to have more than one car. We have to have our kids in the best of state and clothes and health. This is the norm. And this is another test from Allah. So Allah is testing whether you show and express your gratitude by staying away from sin and doing good deeds. So this might easily be one of Allah's tests upon you. You should depend on Allah, do not believe in bad omen, and trust Allah Azza wa Jal to choose the best for you. Now, what you can do is, you can maintain and observe the adhkar of the morning, the evening, before going to bed, and after the 5 mandatory prayers. Make sure that you recite them with an open heart, with contemplation, and with firm belief that no one can protect you except Allah, the Almighty Azza wa Jal. Muhammad Muhammad says, what verses of the Quran and what hadith passages can get abrogated? Is it only the verses that refer to fiqh? So his question is basically, the concept of abrogation is mentioned in the Quran. ما ننسخ من آية أو ننسيها نأتي بخير منها أو مثلها ألم تعلم أن الله على كل شيء قدير. Whatever we abrogate from the verses of the Quran, or we make you, Muhammad, to forget, we will bring something that is better than it or similar to it. So this is a promise from Allah Azza wa Jal. Abrogation is to uplift and to remove, linguistically speaking. But the technical definition of it is to uplift a religious ruling and either uplift it totally or change it. For example, the Muslims all their life used to pray to the direction of Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, to the direction of Jerusalem. This was abrogated when they moved to Medina. And after a while, the Prophet ﷺ was ordered to turn 180 degrees and face Kaaba. Head south, facing Mecca. So this is an abrogation. An abrogation can be the total upliftment of the ruling and the recitation of the verse. Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, our mother, says that in the beginning there were verses of the Quran stating that 10 sucklings makes a child prohibited and makes that child the son of that mother who breastfed him. This was abrogated into 5. So the ruling of 10 was abrogated in recitation. We cannot find it in the Quran. And it was abrogated in the ruling itself, and we cannot find this in the Quran applied. The second type of abrogation is when the recitation is there, but the ruling is no longer existing. As in the case in the beginning when fasting was obligated, it was permissible for those who had money to feed a poor person and skip a day. No compensation. That's it. Then this was abrogated. We recite the ayah, but the ruling is abrogated in the sense that, no, even if you are wealthy, you cannot feed people. You have to continue to fast. The third type of abrogation is that the recitation is not there, but the ruling exists. And then the issue of stoning. It used to be in the Quran, a verse of the Quran, that if an old man or an old woman fornicated or committed an act of adultery, they should be stoned. But the recitation was abrogated, the ruling continued, and Allah knows best. We have Muhammad from Saudi Arabia.
Muhammad Asghar, Sheikh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, I have a question. My mother and father both pass away. And when my father passed away, he distributed his all things according to Islamic law. And when my mother was alive, I always buy a gold for my wife and my mother also. And she always used, and in her life, she say, all those gold, whatever you buy, it is your. It is not a right for any of your brother and sister. And when she passed away, she have given this gold through my sister to give to my son Asghar. And then when I reached there, my sister has given to me. According to Islamic law, is there distribution on this gold to my brother and sister? Kindly please advise me.
I will, inshallah.
Thank you, Sheikh.
Okay, quite welcome, Akhi. Muhammad says that, okay, Aisha from Gambia?
Yeah, Sheikh, I called and the network was giving me some problem. What I was trying to ask was, what is the Islamic ruling on the female genital cutting, or some will say female genital mutilation?
Okay.
It's a controversial issue in the Gambia, and now that your viewers are many, we want to have some clarity, because here it's like scholars are not in terms. Some are saying, yes, it is accepted in Islam. It is something that you have to do. Some are just making it mandatory, whereas some are saying it's optional. So I just want you to clarify. And we would even like to know, how did it came into Islam?
Okay.
Because some are saying totally it's not part of Islam.
I will answer you, inshallah, Aisha.
And my second question is, if I'm married to a family, which part of them are Christians, it is wrong. Is it wrong if they give me food during their feast to eat it? Or not? Because normally during my own feast, I used to give them gifts, I used to give them food, and they accepted. So as a Muslim, I don't wish them Christmas, but if they give me food, send it to my house, I don't visit them. Should I eat the food? Also, should I not eat that food?
Do they give you food for an occasion or just normal giving? I think we lost Aisha. Okay. Muhammad says that he used to buy his mother gold and he gives her as a gift. And she kept on telling him that when I die, all of this gold must be returned to you. My gift is for you and for your children, etc. So when she died, his sister took the gold and gave it to him. Is this permissible or not? The answer is no, this is not permissible. Unless all of those who inherit your mother would approve of that. Because the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, La wasiyyata liwarith. There is no will acceptable to someone who is inheriting. So if I, before dying, say, I give my wife 1/3 of my inheritance, this is my will. So the minute I die, this is cancelled. If I say, I give my son, I give my daughter, I give my father, I give my mother, these people will inherit by the law of Islam. So giving them something extra as a will, this is totally prohibited and it's cancelled. So for your mother, the gold she appointed and she told her daughter to give it to you, this is considered to be a will. She didn't give it to you while she was alive and you received it. It's not a gift, it's a will. So after her death, we will see who will inherit your mother. It's your siblings. She doesn't have a father and a mother. Definitely then only you guys will inherit. So if all of your siblings said, we're okay with that, and we are accepting it, and we allow you to have the gold as our mother wished and wanted, this is totally permissible. But if one of them said nope, then in this case, yes, you are not allowed or not entitled to have this. Abdullah from Kenya.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Listen to me from the phone and mute your TV, please.
What is the Islamic ruling on the payment of Iddat period for a woman who ran away from home willingly?
What is the ruling on what?
What is the Islamic ruling on the payment of Iddat money for a woman who ran away, Iddat period, for a woman who ran away from home willingly? What is the Islamic ruling? Is she supposed to be paid that 3 months while she was away from home?
Okay, I will answer your question, inshallah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Aisha is asking a question about female circumcision. And they call it in the West, female genital mutilation. So what's the ruling on it? Islamically speaking, it is in Islam based that there is male circumcision, which nobody opposes or speaks against, and there's female circumcision. In Islam, it is mandatory for a male to be circumcised. So a child when he's 7 days old, it is part of the sunnah. It is obligatory to circumcise him. For females, it's an issue of dispute among jurors. And the most recommended and authentic opinion that it is permissible. Some say that it is recommended, but it is not mandatory. So it is not part of Islam to say that yes, she has to be operated upon and this has to be done. And the media highlights this, and they make documentaries of abuse, of mutilation, and serious drama, which is definitely not acceptable in Islam. We definitely join hands and tell you that these practices are wrong, but we do not join forces with you and say that it is totally prohibited, the concept itself. The concept is there. Now, having said that, females in my family, my daughters, my wives, whatever, they all don't or have not been circumcised, because this is a very delicate operation, and it is something that not everyone is capable of doing it professionally, and there is no need to do it, alhamdulillah azza wa jal. So therefore, doing it is an option. If a father or a mother think that the daughter needs it, and it's done by professionals who know what they're doing, and that it would not harm a female's sexuality in the future, or deters her from enjoying what is halal and permissible, if these boundaries are there, and they think that the pros are far greater than the cons, then yes, they may go ahead and do it. However, there's nothing that obliges them to do this, and Allah knows best. We have Ahmed from the Emirates.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamualaikum.
I have a similar question to the one asked earlier. This is regarding gifts to the mother. Whenever I buy gold for my mother, if she says that this is an amana from you, and you only pay the zakat, but I will use the gold till I'm alive. After I pass away, you can take this gold back.
Okay.
So I continue to pay the zakat for this gold, and she's very clear that this is an amana from her.
Okay, I will answer you, inshallah, Ahmed.
Jazakumullah khair.
Wa jazak. Aisha also says that the people give her food, and she gives them food. Is it okay for her to eat? The answer is yes, as long as the food is halal, and this is not part of celebrating with them. So you don't eat the food with them on their Christmas Eve or on New Year's Eve. They send you food, you eat it home. There's no problem in that, inshallah. Abdullah from Kenya says, what's the ruling on paying money during the iddah? If she's the one who ran away, then there is no money for her until she's divorced and her iddah is over, the grace period. She's not deserving to get one single penny, because she's the one who deprived you from enjoying having a wife. Though you married and you paid money, you paid the dowry, and she deprived you from all of this, she's not entitled for anything. Ahmed from the Emirates, he says that his mother made an agreement with him that all the gold that he gives to her, she keeps it as a amana, as a deposit, and it's his after her death, but he has to pay the zakat for that. This is, again, not correct. The gold belongs to your mother. Paying the zakat from your side is a gift. It is not a true condition, and it has to be distributed. Rifat says, if creation cannot have Allah's attributes, and Allah does not have our characteristics, how does Allah feel anger, since it seems to be human quality? Also, how do we feel mercy, which is one of Allah's attributes? And this is one of the biggest mistakes. See, Allah's attributes are totally different than ours, and ours are totally different than Allah Azza wa Jal. But we know that they share the name. So when we say that Allah is alive, so I'm alive as well. Is my life similar to Allah's life? Definitely not. When we say that Allah is all hearing, I can hear. I cannot hear beyond the walls of the studio. Allah Azza wa Jal hears every single thing that happens in the universe. So definitely when Allah Azza wa Jal gets angry, Allah's anger is not similar to ours. Our anger is provoked by things that of no interest, of no power, and our anger makes us unfair. It makes us react in a certain way. Allah's anger is unlike this at all. Allah's anger is perfect like Allah the Almighty. Likewise, our mercy is a sign of weakness. Allah's mercy is never a sign of weakness. And our mercy is selective. Allah's mercy is infinite, and subhanahu wa ta'ala, it has all the universe in His mercy. So it's a different thing altogether. We have Barkinvo from Libya. Barkinvo.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salamtullah.
Sheikh, I would like to ask about some issues, that I saw in Nigeria. Because I'm a Nigerian, and when I left Nigeria, I used to feel it was so bad for me, and I have an opportunity right now to ask.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to ask about what?
Yeah, there is some schools. There is some schools in Nigeria which is owned by Muslims people. There are schools in Nigeria which is owned by Muslims, Sheikh.
Yes.
And the schools, they used to do many things about Westerners, and mashallah, I used to follow many things about Westerners, but the one that only goes with Islam. So, there is some schools that they allow they force the Muslim girls to wear miniskirt, and they prevented them to wear hijab. And in fact, they say the only hijab that can be allowed for them to put is a kind of hijab which is half. In fact, you can even, if they bend down, you can even see the shape of their whatsoever. So, and again, I still have a question.
Yes, what's your question, Akhi?
Yeah, the question is that I used to have some debate, Islamic debate on Facebook, and sometimes in some other social network. I used to see some people, there are some people, Muslims, if the Christian ask question, they are not Muslims, therefore they don't have knowledge of Islam. They can just do it and ask whatsoever they decided. The Muslim brothers supposed to correct them, or supposed to tell them this is un-Islamic, the way you people used to ask questions or whatsoever. No, they will not do that. What they used to do is that they will start insulting the people instead of for them to guide them. Because
I understand. I understand, Akhi, because we have little time, my friend. So I understand the question. The schools that are owned by Muslims, and they prevent females from wearing hijab, and they oblige them to wear miniskirts, this is totally prohibited and is wrong. This is un-Islamic. And if they believe that this is Islam or part of Islam, then they are in great danger, because they are almost going to nullify their Islam by this. They nullify their Islam if they think that halal things are haram or haram things are halal. As for his question regarding some Muslims being insultive on Facebook and Twitter, Akhi, we call them as keyboard knights. These people who do not dare to show their faces or true identity, and they start to slander and speak ill about people, especially the non-Muslims who are in need of us calling them to Islam. They repel them and they send them away from Islam like this. This is totally unacceptable in Islam. Samia says, is it permissible for men and women to pray in one congregation? That is, rows for women behind rows of men and a common imam? Definitely yes. This is what the Prophet ﷺ used to do with his companions. Abdul Azim says, is it enough to pour water only once or twice in washing impurity like it's allowed in ablution? Or is it fard to pour 3 times? You have to pour water until the impurity is gone. So if it's gone by doing it once, this is sufficient. You can do that and repeat it until it's gone. Ahmed says, I was talking to a brother about this issue of polygamy, and in a nutshell, he says that there is a hadith or a quote from Ibn Abbas in Sahih al-Bukhari, which says that the best of the ummah is the one with most wives. And he says that this is this true? The answer is the hadith or the quote is one of the mu'allaqat of al-Bukhari. It's not a quote from the Prophet ﷺ. It's not a hadith, and it's not even a connected quote, but it is part of it which was by Ibn Abbas, and this is Ibn Abbas' opinion. However, it can be correct depending on the intention, depending on how the man is dealing with his multiple wives, and it can be a major sin if he's not fair and if he's not doing what he's supposed to do. We have 2 more questions from Ali and Saba, but I'm afraid that this is all the time we have. Until we meet you next time, next week, I leave you fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah is my heart's speech. Your mercy is what I beseech.